Nrsimhare, Nrsimhare Jaya, Nrsimhare Jaya, Nrsimhare Jaya. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Bhaktivedanta Manor Srina Simare Bhagavan Ki Jai. Jai Bhakti Shrestha Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I think everybody enjoying Aarti. Am I right? You have to say yes. Yeah. Anybody here first time Bhaktivedanta Manor temple? Please hands up. Yeah, thank you very much. Giving big hand, please. ISKCON Bhaktivedanta Manor is very popular, especially Hare Krishna temple around the world. Which country you want to go, you got to see there. Hare Krishna center is there. Well, the program will continue. Kirtan, bhajan, 7 o'clock Aarti, devotee going to dance here if you want to dance with us. Yeah, Saturday night or Sunday night, whatever you think. So it's going to be a fantastic Aarti at 7 o'clock. Program will continue.
He's not here, just keep them busy for him.
So program will continue up to 10 o'clock night. Bhajan, Kirtan and so many other things. So join with us. Tell your friends and family, whoever, whenever visit Hare Krishna temple, must visit Hare Krishna temple. Bhaktivedanta Manor. Very important. Yeah, Aarti time, where, doesn't matter which time you spend here, I think is a good time you spend here, right? You have to say, silent place, temple room, shh. Temple room have to be silent. Yeah. All the children, yeah. Hare Krishna. So that's important. Whatever time you spend here, such a enjoyable with Krishna, with his devotee, prasadam, darshan, it's a whole package all together, yeah? That's very important. Prasadam will be outside in the tent, Haveli. So I think long queue now. If you want to stay in the queue long, you can go. Or stay with us, take darshan. The kirtan will be continue here. Yeah? And important things, you can go upstairs, take Prabhupada darshan, Prabhupada room upstairs, Goshala, and so many other things to see here. Don't forget to come. Try to come at least every Sunday. Yeah, you see how entertained we are? Sing and dance and say, Hare Krishna! Hare Krishna! Krishna Krishna! Hare Hare! Hare Rama! Hare Rama! Rama Rama! Hare Hare! So now we have one special devotee here, living in the temple. What is Prabhuji's name? Bhakta David Prabhu here. He's going to giving Srimad Bhagavatam class. Huh?
Bhaktivedanta from Brahmacharya.
He's living in the temple upstairs. If you want to learn how to devotee life or brahmachari life, then you can stay here or Mataji life. Make sure you're going to wake up 3 o'clock night, morning, They wake up 3 o'clock morning, 4 o'clock, come down temple, do pray. This is called tapasya. Hard work. Okay, so devotee Prabhuji here. So he going to giving Srimad Bhagavad-Gita class. Gita class, yeah? Okay, Bhagavad-Gita class. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Silent temple room, please.
Hare Krishna. Krishna. Okay. Thanks. I can't play them. I can't so much. Thanks. I can sing. Thank you. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jana Vallabha Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you. Thank you, Krishna. Hare Krishna. Today we're reading from the Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 4, text 7. Sorry. Okay. Okay. So I'll just do an invocation. Om Agyanartimayandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakchurun Militanyena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitanyena Bhutaye Swayam Rupa Kadadmayam Tadati Sva Padantikam Vandiham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shah Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragana Tam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadhavetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamsja He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Pre Vancha Kalpa Trubescha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutaye Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Prasyatya Desatarne Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is chapter 4, text 7. So I'm just going to start with the Sanskrit recitation. And first of all, before we begin, I'd like to seek the blessings of all the assembled devotees and to those who may be listening online. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I'll just begin with the Sanskrit recitation. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanhir bhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyam. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhutyutanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyam. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyam. And I'll move on to the translation. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharat, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharat, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. And purport. The word Sri Jami is significant herein. Sri Jami cannot be used in the sense of creation, and Sri Jami means manifest. So Sri Jami cannot be used in the sense of creation, because according to the previous verse, there is no creation of the Lord's form or body, since all of the forms are eternally existent. Therefore, Sri Jami means that the Lord manifests Himself as He is. Although the Lord appears on schedule, namely at the end of the Dwapara Yuga of the 28th millennium of the 7th Manu in one day of Brahma, He has no obligation to adhere to such rules and regulations, because He is completely free to act in many ways at His will. He therefore appears by His own will whenever there is a predominance of irreligiosity and a disappearance of true religion. Principles of religion are laid down in the Vedas, and any discrepancy in the matter of properly executing the rules of the Vedas makes one irreligious. In the Bhagavatam, it is stated that such principles are the laws of the Lord. Only the Lord can manufacture a system of religion. The Vedas are also accepted as originally spoken by the Lord Himself to Brahma from within His heart. Therefore, the principles of Dharma, or religion, are the direct orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dharmam tu Shakshat Bhagavat Pranitam. These principles are clearly indicated throughout the Bhagavad-Gita. The purpose of the Vedas is to establish such principles under the order of the Supreme Lord, and the Lord directly orders at the end of the Gita that the highest principle of religion is to surrender unto Him only, and nothing more. The Vedic principles push one towards complete surrender unto Him, and whenever such principles are disturbed by the demoniac, the Lord appears. From the Bhagavatam we understand that Lord Buddha is the incarnation of Krishna, who appeared when materialism was rampant and materialists were using the pretext of the authority of the Vedas. Although there are certain restrictive rules and regulations regarding animal sacrifice for particular purposes, in the Vedas, people of demoniac tendency still took to animal sacrifice without referring to the Vedic principles. Lord Buddha appeared in order to stop this nonsense and to establish the Vedic principles of non-violence. Therefore, each and every avatar or incarnation of the Lord has a particular mission, and they are all described in the revealed scriptures. No one should be accepted as an avatar unless he is referred to by scriptures. It is not a fact that the Lord appears only on Indian soil. He can manifest Himself anywhere and everywhere, and whenever He desires to appear. And in each and every incarnation, He speaks as much about religion as can be understood by the particular people under their particular circumstances. But the mission is the same, to lead people to God consciousness and obedience to the principles of religion. Sometimes He descends personally, and sometimes He sends His bona fide representative in the form of His son or servant, or Himself in some disguised form. The principles of the Bhagavad-Gita were spoken to Arjuna, and for that matter, to other highly elevated persons, because he was highly advanced compared to ordinary persons in other parts of the world. 2 + 2 = 4 is a mathematical principle that is true in the beginner's arithmetic class, and in the advanced class as well. Still, there are higher and lower mathematics. In all incarnations of the Lord, therefore, the same principles are taught, but they appear to be higher and lower in varied circumstances. The principles of religion begin with the acceptance of the 4 orders and 4 statuses of social life, as will be explained later. The whole purpose of the mission of incarnations is to arouse Krishna consciousness everywhere. Such consciousness is manifest and non-manifest, only under different circumstances. So one word which is important here is Trijami, which speaks about manifest, so that the Lord can make himself manifest. But one thing that it's very important to remember is that Krishna says in the Bhagavad-Gita that all us eternal souls, that we are parts and parcels of Krishna eternally, and that we are actually eternal servants of Krishna. So to understand this is, in terms of manifest, in our true nature, which is spiritual nature. I mentioned that Krishna has a transcendental form. So he's Satchitananda Vigraha. He's eternal, full of knowledge and bliss in a form. And also the living entities are eternal, full of knowledge and bliss and in a form. But the thing is that the living entities have actually, as Srila Prabhupada describes, forgotten this since time immemorial due to the influence of the material nature. So it's this material nature which has actually blocked us, and so our original consciousness is still present, but it's simply covered. So it's simply like the sun and the clouds. Krishna says, or it says in the scriptures, Krishna Surya Sarma Meyaheya Adhikara Yahan Krishna Tahanahi Mayara Adhikara. That Krishna is just like the sun and Maya is just like darkness. So Maya is Krishna's external energy, which is the material atmosphere which covers us. And under the 3 modes of material nature, which are the material influences which propel us to act in this material world. So Krishna is just like the sun, and in that sense, the sun is actually, in that sense, is covered by clouds. If we want to actually fully realize Krishna, we have to spend time to actually disperse the clouds and to actually reawaken our true consciousness. So it's mentioned that all the different incarnations of Krishna, they come at exactly on schedule. I wonder, if anyone can tell me who was the last incarnation of Krishna who appeared recently, and it's not Lord Buddha. It's I'm not sure if anyone would know the last incarnation of Krishna who appeared. Yeah. Okay. Do you? Okay. So the last incarnation that appeared, it was mentioned in the Vedic scriptures precisely where this incarnation would appear, even who his parents would be, and exactly where he would live. It was Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is Krishna, and it's also Krishna and Srimati Radharani combined. So it's Krishna with the mood of Srimati Radharani. So it's Krishna in a devotee, in the mood of a devotee, to teach us conditioned souls and to also spread the process whereby we can actually counteract all this irreligiosity which is currently so prevalent in the world. So it's mentioned in the Vedic scriptures. There's a pastime about Kali and being chastised by the king, and it mentions about the 4 principles of religion. So these are the actual principles which we have to adhere to. So they are mercy, cleanliness, austerity, and tolerance. But there's also, these correspond with actual what we actually are taught and we follow in Krishna consciousness, which is the 4 regulative principles. So these are actually like safeguards. When we follow these and we follow the process, this is what will actually protect us from the material influence and actually give us some guidance, because we naturally don't have so much guidance, and people may have some good intention, but ultimately they're innocent and they're misled. So in this way, meat eating can become, as mentioned, so prevalent, and due to not understanding the scriptures properly from the actual authorized authority, people will start to take advantage of this. And as mentioned, this is what happened, and this is the reason why Lord Buddha actually came, because people were doing animal sacrifices and taking advantage of actual scriptural injunctions whereby this was sanctioned, but they took these scriptural injunctions in their own context. And this is what leads to so much trouble in the world. Srila Prabhupada, he mentioned, he has a book called The Higher Taste, and he mentions that because there's so much slaughter taking place of animals on such a wide scale, that this will naturally lead to so much negative reactions. And he actually said, due to all this animal slaughter, this is the reason why we see war in the world. So because of all this negative reactions, these will accumulate, whereby these unfortunate circumstances have to occur. So we never think that these things will happen, but based on the science of karma, and these things are naturally bound to happen. So until people actually take to proper understanding of the scriptures, then these unfortunate circumstances are bound to happen, and people will become more and more covered and more away and misled from their actual goal. So one has to actually take shelter. And Arjuna was one who was bewildered in the Bhagavad-Gita. So it's mentioned in verse 2:1. So Sanjaya uvacha tam tata kripaya vistam asrupurna kolekchanam vijidanta midam vakyam uvacha madhusudana. Sanjaya said, seeing Arjuna full of compassion, his mind depressed, his eyes full of tears, Madhusudana Krishna spoke the following words. So it says that Arjuna was full of compassion, his mind depressed, and his eyes full of tears. So Arjuna, he was feeling very compassionate, and his idea was that he didn't want to fight and cause harm to his friends and relatives on the battlefield who were on the opposing party. But we can see that Arjuna he's not being consistent. And previously in the Mahabharata, he actually engaged in battle with the Kurus on the day he came out of exile. The exact day he came out of exile, he fought with the Kurus. but he didn't kill any of his family members. But he still killed their chariot drivers and other people who weren't exactly his family members. So this compassion was a bit misplaced. This was killing people who simply that he had no relation to. So this is not real compassion. And Krishna continues. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kutasva Kashmalam Edam Vishami Samupastitam Anarya Justam Asvargyam Arkarti Karamarjuna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you? They are not at all befitting a man who knows the value of life. They lead not to higher planets, but to infamy. So they are not all befitting a man who knows the value of life. So it's mentioned in the Bhagavad-Gita, 1861, that this body is just like a machine. And seated on that machine in the heart is our soul and the super soul. So the super soul is situated in the heart. So one who knows the value of life will know that every human being has the Lord situated in their heart as a super soul. And their own individual soul is there beside the Lord. And this individual soul is that which actually needs to take shelter of the Lord and actually render service unto the Lord. So this misplaced compassion of Arjuna was simply based on very skin-deep compassion, not actually thinking of everyone as a spirit soul and in terms of duty and in what actually will serve the Lord and please the Lord. So this is how we have to think. What are the actual rules and regulations of the scriptures, the scriptural injunctions, and what will please the Lord? So ultimately, as is mentioned in the verse, that these are the rules and injunctions of the scriptures. And then ultimately, Krishna says that we need to actually begin Sarva Dharman Parityagya. So this is 1866. Mamekam Saranam Vraja. Aham Sarva Aham Sam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshesyamin Masucha. So that one should simply abandon all varieties of religions and just surrender unto me. I will protect you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So this is what Krishna wants. He wants us to simply surrender unto him. Abandon all varieties of religions, whether it be not to identify with ourselves as a Christian, a Muslim, a Hindu, or any of this, just to simply realize that these are all false designations, and that we are simply a spirit soul. And this is actually what it means in terms of a Vaishnava is actually to simply to serve the Lord. And then of course we need to actually practice. We still need to actually follow the rules and regulations, but to realize that ultimately we're simply servants of Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya, he came over 500 years ago, and he is what's called the Yuga Avatar. So he's the one who is actually, he's the representative of the Lord, or the Lord himself, who is in this disguise of a devotee, who is here to actually impart the Yuga Dharma, the prescribed process of salvation in this current time. So in previous ages, they performed more difficult practices of yoga, more complex, where it would be a lot harder to perform. But in this age, the Lord is so merciful that he knows that it's very difficult to actually practice spiritual life in this day and age, when people's minds are more stressed. The simple nature of life that there's more things happening. So he has recommended the simple process of chanting the names of the Lord, which is the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So if you like to repeat with me or after me, which goes Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is the process to simply chant the Lord's name. And this is what it's a simple, a three-stage process, which is very simple actually, which is actually just described as chanting, feasting, and dancing. So it's actually to chant the Lord's name, to dance, and to honor the Lord's prasadam. So this is a very simple process which anyone can perform. And because we are so less qualified in this age, that it's very much materially orientated, and we're all so simply lack knowledge and the capacity that we don't have the standard where we can perform the sacrifices. All these sacrifices are like these certain fire sacrifices. They're all forbidden in this age because we don't have actual qualified brahmanas who can chant the Vedic mantras to it's required to such a high standard, which is actually required to perform these sacrifices. So this was Yudhisthira Maharaj who performed all these sacrifices. But in this day and age, we're not qualified like Yudhisthira Maharaj. And this age is called Kali Yuga, which is the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. So because we are all so disqualified, the Lord has given us these holy names. And also in terms of chanting the holy names, one might say, okay, I chant the holy name. And he might maybe he chants 16 rounds, which is recommended. And then one might say that's done. Okay, I chanted it. One might even lessen it. So the criteria is, in terms of, we're recommended to chant 16 rounds a day by Srila Prabhupada. But the thing is, we can't just simply chant and then stop. Even if we chant one round and then stop. So it says this in the scriptures. To actually avoid committing offenses, it's recommended to keep continually chanting, and that's the ultimate goal of actually chanting the Lord's names and the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Is that ultimately we continue chanting, and the chanting of the Lord's names is an eternal pastime, so something that goes on eternally in the spiritual world. And it says in the Padma Purana, Nama Parada Yuktanam Namyam Eva Harantyagam Avisranti Prayuktani Tanye Varta Karanija. The chanting of Hare Krishna is recommended for persons who commit offenses. Because they continue chanting, they will gradually chant offenselessly. Even if in the beginning one chants the Hare Krishna mantra with offenses, one will become free from such offenses by chanting again and again. So the thing is that there's different stages of chanting. And in the beginning we can't chant purely, so we chant with offenses. We chant inattentively, and we don't have the ability to fully focus on the Lord's name. So this is like a vicious circle. So therefore it's recommended that we need to actually chant continuously. So it's good that we chant our 16 rounds, but ultimately the goal is to become Krishna conscious and to actually have the Lord's name continuously resounding. So this is what is described as transcendental sound vibration. So this is not a material sound. This is sound which Sri Prabhupada describes as it comes from the spiritual stratum. So this, when we chant, it immediately takes us away from the mundane and connects us in a purely spiritual way. I wonder if there's any questions. Yes. Okay. Okay. So something I'd like to speak about, which is mentioned in the Sri Upanishad. So it speaks about how everything in the world is actually the property of the Lord. So this whole material world belongs to the Lord. And I'd like to ask a question: if anyone thinks, is this world perfect? I'd like to ask the question. No. Yeah. So that's the thing. This world is a place of imperfection. So it says in the Sri Upanishad, Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnam Adaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate. The personality of Godhead is perfect and complete, and because He is completely perfect, all emanations from Him, such as the phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself, because He is the complete whole. Even though so many complete units emanate from Him, He remains the complete balance. So we can clearly see that this world is a place of imperfection, but because it emanates from the Lord, it is considered perfect. And this is because this world is perfect to serve a purpose. And by the Lord's material energy and the fact that this world is designed in such a way where things go wrong, this is actually the Lord's actual design, whereby we can actually question and question these questions. Why do bad things happen to good people? Why is there suffering in the world? And then we can actually, this is the Lord's mercy by designing this material world, whereby we can actually contemplate the higher questions in life. And in terms of the actual suffering and the actual lack of knowledge which is in this world, Krishna also says in mantra 1 in the Sri Upanishad, Ise vasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagat yam jagat tiena tyaktena bunjita ma greta kasya svedanam. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and one must not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. So the thing is that every one of us, we have a specific quota, and everything is owned and controlled by the Lord. So even if when we look at how the world is divided, people identify with I am whatever nationality, I am this, I am that, whatever country, this is my country, and so on. So these are all false designations, because ultimately everything in the world actually belongs to the Lord. This whole world is the Lord's world, and it is mentioned in the Bhagavad-Gita, which is very evident, as we can see in today's world, that it mentions that us individual spiritual souls, we're all eternal part and parcel of the Lord, but we're actually busy exploiting the resources of this material world. So due to our misidentification, we identify with this body, and we don't see things as they are, that everything is actually the Lord's. So this is why we honor prasadam which is the Lord's sanctified foodstuff. So we, in loving reciprocation, we offer it back to the Lord and say, "Here, please accept this, Lord." And it's also mentioned in the Bhagavad-Gita that without doing this, we will actually, it mentions that we verily eat only sin. So this is how all these sinful habits and also are, whereby we become more and more, in terms of our consciousness, becomes more and more covered by material things. So this also purifies us and helps us to please the Lord. And that's simply the thing, is that initially everyone is conditioned in this material world. And Srila Prabhupada, he calls us, without these actual principles of religion and the guidance of the scriptures, he calls us polished animals. So we may think things are very well, it may seem grand on the surface, but ultimately there's no real civilized life unless people actually follow the actual higher codes and principles which are mentioned in the scriptures, because without following these, one's consciousness will simply sink and become more and more covered, and instead of becoming closer to Krishna, we're going to become further and further away. So I'd like to know if there's any questions, any questions before we conclude. Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much for being such a nice, attentive audience. I hope you have a good day today. For the rest of the day, there'll be still some more programs happening, and also prasadam. If you haven't had prasadam, it should be been served now also. So Bhagavad-Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki. All glories to assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.
कृष्ण तदीयपदपङ्कजपञ्जरान्तम् अद्यैव विशतु मे मानसराजहंस प्राणप्रयाणसमये कफवातपित्तौ कण्ठावरोधनविधौ स्मरणं अद्वैव विशतु मे मानरसराजहंस प्राणप्रयाण समयी कफवातपित्तौ कण्ठावरोधनविधौ स्मरणं